Hey, Steve Saretsky here. As always, there's going to be a couple blog posts to go with this, so those are going to be in the description below. You can check those out on my site, vancitycondoguide.com. But basically just going through and crunching some of the numbers on the Vancouver condo market. It's basically what I wanted to touch on. Obviously, right here in my backyard, it's one of the areas of the markets that I focus on the most. There's been a substantial trend really over the last 4 months or so, but basically ever since January, February, we've seen a massive uptick in the number of condos selling over asking price, which is generally indicative of multiple offers. So in June, on the Vancouver West side, where I would say is the majority of condos, 53% of June sales were sold over asking price. So 53% of June condo sales sold over asking price. So generally that means most people aren't paying over asking unless there's multiple offers. Of course, it sometimes happens. But I would actually say that the number for multiple offers is probably even higher than 53%. But basically, from an analytical standpoint, it was 53. It might have actually been 54% in June. But again, you can check those numbers out on my site. So I think for me, that's sort of one of the alarming things to look at is just this trend, and that is higher than June of 2016. I think it's still off the April 2016 peak, where I think it was at about 57%. So we're starting to reach that. I do expect now that we're in July into August, it starts to slow down a bit. I don't necessarily think it's going to get that much higher, but again, 54%. Anytime that you have 54% of condos selling over asking price, I mean, that just keeps pushing prices up. Again, it's this competitive nature, especially with a lot of the younger home buyers, is they get into this, it becomes an emotional process, and basically, you can look at a comp in a building and say, this is what this unit should be going for, and then someone just comes in and overbids, drives it up, and then the next seller that comes on is expecting that last sale price, and it just compounds on and on and on. And then, really, I think the bigger shift in all of this is the just massive price acceleration on the east side of Vancouver. Again, I highly encourage you to go and check out these charts that I've included in my posts. But the east side, everybody that basically, again, there's primarily, as I would say, a lot of younger buyers that got priced out of the west side. Maybe they're looking in Kitts or Fairview or downtown. They've gotten priced out, and now they've moved to the east side. And so we've seen this massive shift into areas such as Mount Pleasant. I would say is probably the hottest area right now in Vancouver. The average price per square foot has now hovered. It's gone from about $700 last year to about $900 a square foot now in the Mount Pleasant area. And the sales to active ratios, which again is really an indicator of demand levels. It's everything that I look for in terms of what am I looking for in terms of price movement or future expectations. I think the sales to active ratio paints a really good picture, because you can have sales drop off, right? You can have sales come down, but if new listings are coming down with that, it's basically irrelevant. So we want to see the sales to the actives ratio. And right now for East Vancouver condos, it's at about 150%. And just to put that into context for everybody so they understand, is in the board quantifies anything as a seller's market as anything over 20%. So I believe the 10-year average for East Vancouver is something around 28% for the month of June. So we've gone from basically a 10-year average for June of 28% sales to active ratio, and it's literally just gone parabolic in a straight line to 150%. And then things get even worse. Again, this is truly indicative, because you can look at it from a feet on the ground perspective and say, okay, this is sort of what I'm seeing. But then when you actually can go back and comb through the numbers to sort of back that up, it gives you a very good, it basically just concretes that. And so what I'm saying is you have a lot of these young first-time buyers that are being priced and moved over here, pushing a sales to active ratio of 150%. But where the biggest movement is in the studios and the one bedrooms. That's where the most demand is right now. It's basically everyone that's trying to get into the market. Of course, some of them are leveraging the BC government's first-time home buyer loan. They look at it as you just hear these anecdotal stories where it's like, oh, well, why do I rent? Rents keep going up. So I'm basically just going to leverage the government's money. I'm going to scrap together 5% down, and I'm just going to get into the market. So there's just this crazy amount of demand at the studio and one bedroom level where the sales to active ratio is just over 200%. So, I mean, again, just like that essentially means that for every new listing that comes on, there's 2 sales happening. So, I mean, you can see, I think the inventory is now down 40%, something like that, 40% year over year. It's like at this current pace, there will literally be 0 inventory in like, I don't know, a year. So I mean, clearly it's unsustainable, but that just sort of goes to show you where the market is at currently. And it just sort of puts the market into perspective. Again, we have the detached market, which I would say now, if you look at it, it is starting to sort of trend down again. It's started to slow down a little bit, and obviously it's still things are still moving. But if you really look at the data, for the most part in Vancouver, prices for the most part I would say have been relatively flat for the last year. They've had ups. They had significant downturn in the winter, and then they picked back up in the spring, and now they sort of leveled off, and they're basically flat over a 1 year. But now you have condos that are just going through, I would say, really are going through their parabolic phase. Again, when you have a sales to active ratio of 200%, and for one bedrooms 150% for the entire condo market on the east side, that is a number that I've literally have not seen in any market dating back as far back as the data goes, about 13 or 14 years. I have never seen that in any market. And so, again, I just think 150%, I just don't know how much longer this can go on. I mean, obviously, at the way that it is, it implies that prices should continue to increase on a monthly basis, unless, of course, there's some sort of outside shock or more policy intervention that can maybe freeze things a bit. But unless there's anything of that from like an outside thing coming in, the data suggests that prices should continue to accelerate on a month-to-month basis. So that's really the mania right now. That's basically the Vancouver condo market. There's an uptick in multiple offers. A lot of it is subject free. And of course, the multiple offers, they get emotional. They just continue to drive prices up. The sales to active ratio is absolutely through the charts. Again, never seen it before. If you come back through all the data, and again, go look on my website. It'll stick out like a sore thumb. It's literally, it's kind of like this, and then it just goes like that. And so, if you're a first-time buyer, obviously it's extremely difficult out there. But it's really just self-fulfilling, right? You almost got to get some of these buyers to sort of step back and look at the market to try to cool it down or something. But I think everyone's just basically driving these prices up through the stratosphere. But that's where we're at. If you have any questions, comments, put them below. And again, just go check those out. These are all statistics from the real estate board. So I've basically gone and screenshotted them all. And it should give you a visualization of really what's going on in the market. I think that, obviously I don't try to tell markets or tell people what to do from an investment perspective. But honestly, if you're thinking of selling, I don't think there will ever be a better time to do it in terms of, less hassle, days on market. These are selling in 4 or 5 days. Multiple offers basically on every one. Again, when the sales to active for one bedroom or studio is 200%, I don't think you'll ever see that again. But I could be wrong. Maybe it goes higher. But that's just the market that we live in today. And always just trying to bring you some balance, some perspective, and then ultimately you can decide what you want to do with that data. All right. I hope that helped, and I'll talk soon.